Open this ducking door, you four-eyed twit. Okey-dokey. Hi there. Long time lurker, first time poster, on mobile, so please be gentle. TLDR, at the end. I deliver home heating oil in a very rural and mostly flat part of the UK. In my delivery area there are many large drainage channels or dikes in the local lingo. The roads are often very narrow and single track and frequently run alongside these dikes, separated only by a narrow grass verge. No safety barrier. Anywho, this one day in the depths of winter, it was below freezing, there had been a light spattering of snow and there was a thin scum of ice on the water in the dike. I had just finished doing a customer's delivery and was winding in the hose prior to collecting payment and departing. My truck was completely blocking the road as there was nowhere for me to pull it off the road. We are limited by the length of delivery hose. Blocking the road is common and legally acceptable as long as we work quickly and safely. So, I was just waiting for the customer to finish writing the check for their oil when this large Mercedes car pulls up behind my truck, and the driver immediately starts leaning on the horn and shouting and swearing and shouting at me to move that ducking truck out of the way. Now, my usual response when faced with similar behavior is to blank the swearer and pretend they don't exist. Being 6 foot 3 inches and 285 pounds helps keep most people at bay. I ignored Mr. Shouty Man and finished up with my customer. The customer said to me, "Ignore him, he's well known in the village for being a bit of a dick." I said goodbye and got into my truck. As I was putting away my paperwork prior to driving off, I happened to glance on the driver's side mirror, the same side of the truck as the dike, and saw Mr. Shouty Man storming up the side of the truck with a tire iron in his hand. Oh shit, thinks I, and immediately hit the central locking button, locking myself in the cab. Next thing I know, Mr. Shouty Man has climbed up onto the step, is hanging off the mirror arm with one hand and brandishing the tire iron with the other, all the while shouting, "Open this door, you four-eyed cunt." I wear spectacles for driving. Oh, the wit of the man. LOL. Cue malicious compliance. He told me to open the door. So I did. But, as I did so, I kicked it open. He lost his grip on the mirror arm and was flung backwards into the dike up to his chest in freezing cold, filthy water. I calmly started my engine and drive off. As I left, I looked in the mirror to see this guy floundering around chest deep in the icy water, dressed in a business suit. I called the customer who had witnessed everything, and happily they said that they would give a statement to whoever needed one, confirming I acted in self-defense. Then I made a fairly difficult call to my boss and told him what had happened, and he said I'll await his call with interest. No bollocking, nothing. When I got back to the yard that evening, I asked my boss what had happened, and apparently no call of complaint was made that day or ever. That is my story. Please be gentle. TLDR got threatened by violent motorist, obeyed his instruction which caused him to fall into freezing water. Now to the comments. Good job teaching that arrogant prick. I assume his honking days are over for some time. Ah, come on, he'll be back at it the next day already. Exactly. Mercedes drivers are the male version of Karen. I wear specs. One time, a woman who wanted the car parking spot I was already waiting for got angry, because I parked in it. She called me four eyes. While she was wearing glasses, and sunglasses on her head, she didn't appreciate being called six eyes, apparently, or maybe that I was laughing at her. But, the wit, right? Positively Parkeresque. I just find it so hard not to find that insult more hilariously childish than insulting it like literally from an old-time cartoon. I'm not surprised he didn't complain. Road rage attacks are a serious matter in the UK. He didn't complain because he had time to cool off. Time and place. Very rural and mostly flat part of the UK. Gonna guess Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire, Cambridgeshire, bits of Norfolk and Suffolk, definitely the Fens, anyway. Somerset Levels is also a possibility. Cherry on the cake would be if he was late for a very important meeting and wanted to hobnob with his fellow knobs. Yes, Discworld reference. He really didn't get what he wanted. So. Fens. OP replied. Yup. Or extra toes as we call it. Webbed hands. Bog snorkeling as main method of travel. Mates with siblings. In all seriousness, it's bleak up that way, but I kind of like it in the hills have eyes, but with more turnips. Great story. I have to be honest though, my mind has immediately created headcanon for this story. In my headcanon, when you kick open the door, Shouty Man gets flung back but stops over the icy water and hovers. This continues for a half second until he looks down at the water, then back at you before he plummets. As far as I'm concerned, this is how it happened. Does he have enough time to hold up a little handwritten sign that says help before he falls? Only if a tiny umbrella isn't available. OP replied. I once did a delivery within spitting distance of Sizewell B nuclear power station. It was way out in the sticks. When I got to the property, all the outbuildings were covered with ivy and brambles. They were old Nissen huts left over from the war. All one could see were these dark impenetrable semicircles in the brambles. Even the house itself was covered in ivy. Really spooky. There was also no mobile signal, cell coverage. Then the whole family came out to watch me do the delivery, Ma and Pa, the boy and the girl. And the ducking dog. What really worried me was that they all looked alike. Even the dog. I really wondered what their entertainment was on those long dark winter evenings. I thought that they could do away with me and hide my truck in one of the huts and no one would ever find me or my remains. It was properly unnerving. Don't worry, that was just a typical nuclear family. The image of a 6'3", 285-pound man saying Mr. Shouty Man made my day. OP replied. Bearded to boot. That is bloody hilarious. Perhaps he'll think twice next time he gets all shouty. I'll open it when you fix this dang door. Perfect story of malicious compliance, I loved it. OP replied. Thank you, I aim to please. Mr. Shouty Man. Large drainage channels or dikes in the local lingo. As a Dutch person, it's slightly triggering to me that this is actually a correct, but archaic, term for both the ditch and the wall of resulting soil. Blocking the road is legally acceptable as long as it's quick. What does this even mean? Like if you block it more than 15 sec it becomes illegal? OP replied. We work to a rule of thumb. Any more than 20 minutes we have to alert the highways agency. Sadly, most of the time we have no choice but to block the road. The truck only has 200 feet of delivery hose and a lot of homes have driveways that are too small for our vehicles or even have no driveway at all. While carrying out a road blocking delivery, the driver is only too acutely aware that he/she is blocking the road, so will carry out the delivery as quickly as possible and if necessary, move the truck at the first available opportunity. What we don't do is stand there gossiping to passers-by or drinking tea. Needs must when the devil shits in your kettle. Edmund Blackadder. I'll always upvote Blackadder. I know he's Irish, but I couldn't help but read Mr. Shouty Man and see your part as Chris O'Dowd. A fine story. OP replied. Who's Irish? They mean the actor is. I also had to read it twice. The details, grammar, and syntax are amazing in this. As I also live in a mostly flat part of the UK with single track roads and dikes, Lincolnshire, I can only sympathise. With me it was building supplies for my house refurb and entitled twats in BMWs who were obviously rushing off to save a life, and the 30 seconds hold up was the difference between life or death. The levels. If so, you may have filled my tank in the past. Few people realize that when you climb up on the side of the truck and hang off the mirror, you are trusting the driver not to duck you up in several different ways. I was always shocked when I had police officers do it. I had my own shouty man experience. He started tailgating me way too early in the morning to be sensible, not that it ever is. I wave him off and point to the other open lane as it is clear and available for use. The gesture is impossible to be considered rude and has no ability to bring dishonor on one's ancestors or cow. So he moves over and then the traffic light changes to red. Bugger. Mr. Important gets a visit from the Bright Idea Fairy, so he exits his truck, runs over to my window and starts shouting at me and cursing the ground I walk and other eloquent and colorful language. In kid-friendly terms. He called me a pansy for calling him out on his stupidity. I hold up my hand and put down the visor to not even acknowledge his existence as the light is about to change to green. When it does, I floor it, and my electric car moves. So now, Mr. Obnoxious is blocking 2 lanes of morning traffic and probably got a bollocking by the other drivers who witnessed the whole thing. In hindsight, I should have pressed on the horn to be louder than him and to establish dominance to show that verbal abuse is not the answer when one is clearly in the wrong.